Hello, volunteers, and welcome to your Fall 2024 Part 1 of your volunteer training. This is the online volunteer training segment. After we go through these slides, you're going to complete the volunteer program agreement, and then you'll be able to sign up for Part 2 of your volunteer training, which is a live, in-person training. Let's talk a little bit about the cupboard, our mission, and some of our guiding principles. The Comet Cupboard's mission is to provide necessary food and personal care items to students of the UT Dallas community. We act as a service learning component of the undergraduate experience. We cultivate a campus culture where community is valued above individualism. We advocate on behalf of all UT Dallas students to ensure no Comet goes hungry. And some of our guiding principles are students who are hungry will struggle to do well in class. Students who volunteer to help a peer in need feel like they're part of a caring community. And students are more likely to do better in class if they are not hungry or worried about being hungry. Let's say hi to our team. So first off, we have Hillary. She's our director. She uses she, her pronouns. And then we have Belle, our program specialist, who also uses she, her pronouns. Raviv is our student coordinator. He uses he, they pronouns. Fatima is our student worker. They use she, they pronouns. Tenzing is another one of our student workers. He uses he, him. And hi, everyone. I'm Ty. I'm a student worker, and I use they, them, their pronouns. Let's talk a little bit about your day as a volunteer at the Comet Cupboard. These are things to know before you go, things to know and have before your shift. Don't forget your Comet card. The library requires any students entering to have their physical Comet card, which means to get to the Comet Cupboard, you'll have to scan in. Then you also need to download Microsoft Teams. Teams is the easiest way to communicate with your fellow volunteers and the Comet Cupboard staff. Make sure you have your Microsoft Teams app on your phone before you start your shift. This is opening shift. This is the shift where we do a lot of the prep work and get the cupboard ready before students come in. First off, you're going to check for donations and turn everything on. When first arriving, Comet Cupboard staff will be there to unlock the door and let you in. If it's opening time, no one's there, and the door's still locked, send a Teams message to any online staff. You'll also check the donation bins outside of the Comet Cupboard, MC 1.608, and the overflow room, MC 1.604, for any donations that need to be processed. You'll turn on all the lights. Keep all fans and air purifiers on always. If you notice they're off, go ahead and turn them on. Put the stanchions outside of the cupboard and put out the hand sanitizing station. These are stanchions, and this is the hand sanitizing station. And you'll also want to make sure to turn on the TV. All right, this is our volunteers check-in. You'll turn on the iPad and enter the passcode, which is written down on the case. Enter your name in the search bar. Press and hold down your name to swipe right and clock in. You'll see a drop-down menu with notification, and your name should have a green rectangle by it. Find your name again, swipe left, and click on clock out. Your hours will be automatically approved if you clock in and clock out properly. When Give Pulse on the iPad is down or there's any other issue, manually enter an impact. Now, let's watch it happen. So, we're entering our name. We're going to be using Belle as an example. Alrighty. And then you'll swipe right to clock in. Perfect. Okie dokie, and now we're going to show you clocking out. So, go back, search in the name again, for Belle. All right, great. And then we're going to swipe left to clock out. And that's just how it's done. And you'll see a clock out complete happen when it does. Perfect. Make sure you're wearing your volunteer vest or ID. You'll grab one of these green volunteer vests by the desk, and you'll get a lanyard and an ID badge with your name on it when you volunteered with us for more than 5 hours. You must wear your vest or ID badge when you're volunteering. This allows for the student workers and the users to get to know you. Next up, you'll turn on the checkout kiosk. The checkout kiosk is made up of 2 screens, one facing the user and one facing the volunteers. To turn on both computers, use the power button on the lower right hand of the corner of the user-facing screen. That's right here. It's going to be facing the wall, so you'll have to put your hand on the side of the computer to turn it on. The computer should automatically log in and start at the cupboard kiosk form. If the screen says there's no internet connection, wait a second and then hit Control-R at the same time to refresh. Or press the power button and hold for a few seconds to restart the computer. If there are any other issues, send a Microsoft Teams message to the Comet Cupboard staff. Next up, we're going to make sure we're logging temperatures as well. There are these black thermometers in the freezers and refrigerators, and we're going to collect the temperatures in each refrigerator and freezer as well as the room temperature on the clock below the TV, and then we'll note them on the temperature log sheet right here. Make sure when you're logging temperature, you're only using a pen, because if you use a Sharpie, it's going to bleed through to the other papers we have there. Additional temperature logs can be found on the desk. Message Comic Cupboard staff if one of the thermometers is missing or does not work. Next up, we're going to be talking about processing donations and restocking. If there were any donations at the door or dropped off by staff, we're going to make sure to process them as soon as possible when users are not checking out. We're going to talk more about donation processing on a later slide. Additionally, make sure the shelves are stocked. If a shelf looks empty, check above and below the shelves for additional items to stock or make more visible. Make sure items are properly dated before putting them on the shelf. If there are no additional items in the cupboard to stock for that category, let the volunteer leader know or contact Comic Cupboard staff via Teams to check the overflow area. Let's talk a little bit more about your operating shift. First off, we're going to start by checking in students. The Comic Cupboard has a maximum capacity of 14 people. So in an effort not to overwhelm our volunteers, we allow 2 student shoppers per volunteer. And during a full shift of 4 volunteers, there should not be more than 8 shoppers in the cupboard. Students can currently use the Comic Cupboard once per week. Students need to have the following to enter the cupboard: a screenshot of the completed user orientation and program agreement. They'll have a unique confirmation screenshot, a comic card, and their reusable bag. If it is their first time at the Comic Cupboard, we are able to provide one. Ask the student to see all of these things before taking their card to swipe. This is what the screenshot will look like, and you'll just make sure this number right here matches this number on their comic card. Fantastic. The user orientation and program agreement is this video right here. It's a video on YouTube, and the link to the program agreement will be in the video description. And then, again, the screenshot that they'll need to show you if there's an error message after you swipe their card. All right, now we're going to talk about checking in students with the comic card scanner. So when you swipe the comic card, you should see this video. So we're going to swipe the card. It's going to verify, and it's going to give you OK, PA9 EOF. That's because the person who we swiped cards was a PA, so it has their identification. If you see this error message over here, this error message means that they have not completed the user program agreement, and the comic card scanner system is not updated. So let's watch that. So we swipe the card, verifying, denied. Does not have ACT, EOF. So if this is the error message that you're receiving, we're going to go on to the next slide and talk about that. So what do we do if the card gets an error message? Well, we'll make sure to ask if they've completed the user orientation and program agreement. If not, they need to. Then show the screenshot with their ID as proof. Then you'll proceed to the next step. You'll add them to the system following these steps below. So you'll press Activity, which is our F1 button, the red button to clear the number currently displayed. Then you'll type 16 to replace the number 6 currently displayed. And then you'll press the green button to confirm the activity and swipe the card. Let's go ahead and watch that in action. So we're going to swipe the card here, or we're going to press F1. So enter activity ID. We clear the 6, we hit 16, enter, and then we swipe the card. Verifying, and then we're okay. So checking in students. Let's talk a little bit more about reusable bags, what counts and what does not count. So when they arrive at the comic cupboard, you'll make sure that the student has their own reusable bag. A reusable bag cannot be a school backpack or a plastic grocery bag. Neither of these two things are not reusable bags. A reusable bag, however, can be a reusable grocery bag, a net bag, or a non-plastic bag such as this drawstring bag. These are acceptable reusable bags for the comic cupboard. If the student has the Get mobile app, you can ask the student to download the Get app on their phone and log in using their net ID and select Scan Card to show the barcode. Hold the phone with the barcode visible up to the scan reader. It will beep and say verified, confirming their attendance. If it says no data, RECD, or recorded, that means the student is not currently enrolled. Another role that we have here at the comic cupboard is to help with the shopping experience. So some of our students have dietary restrictions. We indicate any designated area for vegetarian and gluten-free items. And we also help students read food labels. You may meet challenging students. Some might complain about the weight or shelf selection. Just ask them to keep in mind that the comic cupboard is not a grocery store. does not use any tuition or tax dollars, and is entirely donation based. If you still need help, contact Comic Cupboard staff immediately. Let's talk a little bit about the checkout process. So you're going to enter items based on category types into the checkout kiosk. We're going to go into a tour in that in a second. Then students must agree to the Statement of Understanding and Non-Discrimination Clause at the end of the checkout to receive their items. Students new to the Comic Cupboard can receive a Comic Cupboard reusable bag. Otherwise, students must bring their own reusable bag or non-plastic grocery bag to use the cupboard. All right, let's go ahead and take a tour. This is the Comic Cupboard kiosk form. So in this form, we distribute items to students. We mark items as damaged, expired, or cannot distribute. We use this to process donations. We use this as user logs for when the card swipe doesn't work. We use this for receipt requests and for whenever students are coming to pick up emergency food bags. Let's just talk about distributing items to a student. All right, so over on the left, you see our order that we are distributing to the student. So we're not going to count the items right now. We're going to go through this, and then whenever we are done, we're going to count together how many items they're taking. So they have a ramen pack. That counts as a grain. So we're going to click grain. Sparkling water is miscellaneous. Dove is a personal care item. The pads are another personal care item. The fruit is a fruit. There we go. Okay. The Vienna sausage is a protein. And then 1, 2, 3 small snacks counts as one snack. So that's something we do here at the cupboard. So 1 large snack or 3 small snacks is things students can take. So because these are small snacks, they can take 1, 2, 3. All right, and our pads are always free. So even though we mark them, if the weekly item count was 6, the students can take everything in this picture, including the produce, because the produce is always free. All right, but now let's count these items. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they have 8 initially, and then the pads that are free, and then the produce that's free. So produce, it's free, and we do not count it in the total number of items because we do not put it in the system, so we do not count it in the total number of items. Pads, however, we do put in the system, so we do count the total number of items there. So there are 10 pads in each pack, in each baggie that we have, there are 10 pads. So we have 8 here, not counting this, plus 10. So we have 18 total items that we are distributing. The weekly item count is 6. They can take everything in this photo, including the produce, because the produce is free and the pads are free. And all of these snacks count as one item. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 towards their weekly item count. We're going to go more over this in person. You'll have a chance to do it. But for now, this is just the base knowledge that you need to have. We're going to hit next after we've completed this form. It's going to ask, did you pick up menstrual products today? Yeah, we did. So we're going to hit yes and next. What product did you pick up today? So we hit pads because we picked up pads. And then, did you pick up menstrual products for yourself or someone else? This is so they can kind of see who all the cupboard is helping out, who is taking use of the cupboard's menstrual products. So for me, let's say it's for myself. Then it's going to ask, do you agree to the Statement of Understanding and Non-Discrimination Clause? The Statement of Understanding, just make sure they read through and agree to this, because if they hit no, we cannot distribute their items. So they hit yes and next, and then it'll say, please wait where you're directed. And yeah, then you're good to go. All right, thanks for watching that. So now let's talk a little bit about the types of donations that we process. So physical items must be shelf stable unless they're from Luna Farm, UTD Dining, or the North Texas Food Bank, unopened and clean. We take household and hygiene items. We do not take cash. If they have a check, we direct the donor to SPN 2.120. We also have an online giving website using credit card, bank card, or a recurring payment, and we have an Amazon wish list. There are classes that give credit for donating to the cupboard, so if a student would like the receipt for that, you can use the cupboard kiosk form and do the donation receipt from there. All right, processing donations, these shelf-stable items. We check to ensure that each item has not passed 12 months after the expiration date or is showing any visible signs of damage. Expired items can stay on the shelf for up to 6 months, and expired items between 6 to 12 months go to the free shelf. These items are still considered safe to consume by the FDA. We date each item on the top and in the front where it is visible from the shelf. We count the items, write the numbers on the donation processing sheet based on the category, and then log them into the computer system. This is our sorting handbook. So here you can kind of see what we were talking about earlier on the category form where we were logging the items into each category. So there's the miscellaneous food, breakfast grains, canned vegetable, canned fruit, soup, meat, beans, lentil, snack, pantry staple, frozen item, refrigerated items, household, beverage, and the personal care items, all shown here. So with these, you would basically this kind of gives you an idea of what items go in this category. This isn't a full list. If you want the full list, we'll include the link in the description so that you can check that out at your leisure. With this form, you have a shift date and time that you write down. So say it was July 25th. You put 7:25 and then the time, so 12:02 p.m. Donor name, so whoever donated it, what their name is, and then the name of the volunteer who is logging this form. So if I put my name, I would put Tyler V, and then put entered in the system. If you have entered it in the system, check yes. But if it comes time and your shift ends and you have not entered it in the system, make sure to write no or check no so that the next person on shift can log it. All right, these are some food expiration terms that we want y'all to know. So sell by is the date that tells the store how long to display the product for sale. You should purchase the product before the date listed. The product is still edible. Best if used by / before. The date listed indicates the best flavor and quality of the item. It is not a purchase by or safe to eat date. Use by. This date is the last recommended date for use of the product while at peak quality. The peak date has been determined by the manufacturer of the product. And shelf stable. Food that can be safely stored at room temperature or on the shelf is called shelf stable. Not all canned goods are shelf stable. Some canned food, such as canned ham or seafood, may not be safe to consume at room temperature. Check the label to see if it indicates keep refrigerated. These are unsafe cans. Dented at the junction where side and end meet, a sharp dent or dent on the seam, swollen or bulging, and then pitted, rust, or leaking. If the can is dented or damaged along the rim or seam or has a deep dent, which the USDA defines as a dent you can lay your finger into, then the product can be contaminated with spoilage, organisms, or worse, foodborne pathogens such as botulism. So, this is by Tyler Williams, the consumer product safety and quality expert and CEO of the ASI Food Safety. Listen, use your best judgment. If something seems off, get rid of it. It's better safe than sorry. All right, so to date donations, we're going to go over how we date donations. In boxes like Pop-Tarts, we label each individual package. So there are 6 packages in a Pop-Tarts box, so we label each Pop-Tart package. Some items that are boxed together only have the expiration date on the box, not the individual items. Make sure these are dated, and we keep the box for nutrition label and allergy information. So let's watch some of our volunteers date some items. So this is a can, so we'll date on the front and on top. So 12/22, and then on the top, 12/22. Perfect. And then on these boxes, we're going to watch them open the box. Just like that. They're opening the box and taking out the individual Pop-Tarts. Just like that. For counting donations, we count each individually wrapped item. If an unopened box of singly individually wrapped items says there's a certain number included, we write that number. All right, the milk plan. What to do with expired or near expired milk/dairy products. Oftentimes, we'll be sent milk or dairy items that are close, if not already expired. So it is extremely important to check the dates on these items. When receiving already expired dairy products from MTFB, keep for the remainder of the week as a free item, then compost and get rid of it. When receiving close to expiration dairy product from NTFB, 1 week before expiration, make it free and then toss on the expiration day. Processing donations. So, a little like we saw earlier, when we receive a donation, we enter each individually wrapped item into the correct category. The list on the computer system will help you get familiar with shelving similar items together. If you are unable to completely process a donation during your shift, use the "to be processed" sign below and then send a Teams message on the in-pantry volunteer channel. Processing fresh produce. Fresh produce is always free to users and can come from the community garden, Luna Farm, UTD Dining, and the North Texas Food Bank. We process fresh donations by weighing the donation with the scale and entering the number into the system. When received, take a picture of it and send it to the Teams chat. This way, we'll know when they're donated and we can share it with our users. Compost the produce that is no longer fresh and message a Comic Cupboard staff member when needed. If there are produce items that have mold or have otherwise gone bad, compost them. Items that need to be composted should be separated out from the good produce and put in a box to be taken into the compost bin. Over here is a guide that you can kind of see what we can compost and what we cannot. We can compost raw fruit, veggie scraps, bread, grains, pastas, crackers, eggshells, leaves, and flowers, coffee grounds, filters, shredded paper and tea bags, meats and fish bones, dairy products, beans, nut seeds, and paper towels. We cannot compost glass, metal, plastic, liquids, pet waste, feces, or litter. While you're at the Comic Cupboard, we maintain shelf selection here by organizing the shelf with the first expired, first out method, aka FIFO. We keep those items grouped in categories, and then keep those categories sorted by vegetarian and non-vegetarian if applicable. Pre-packed items such as menstrual products, tea bags, laundry detergent pods, and dryer sheets / toilet paper. If these shelves are looking empty, get with a volunteer leader to access overflow and put more stock on the shelves. And for your closing shift, we got to make sure to log the temperature at the end of the day on those same thermostats that you saw earlier, turn off the TV, wipe down the desks and sweep the floor, put the stanchions and the hand sanitizer back into the cupboard, and turn off the lights. And then turn the handle facing the inside of the cupboard up and make sure the door locks behind you. Volunteer shifts. These are shifts that are available to our volunteers. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, shifts start at 10 a.m. and go all the way until 4 p.m. Then on Tuesday and Thursday, shifts start at 10 a.m. and then go all the way to 5 p.m. Be on time for your shift. If there are less than 2 volunteers, that means the Comic Cupboard will have to be closed for that shift. The Comic Cupboard will be closed on days that the university is closed as well. Volunteering at events. Our many different events throughout the year are an integral part of serving students and spreading awareness. As a volunteer, you may participate in tabling, where you tell students about the cupboard and lead activities, collect donations at donation drives, pack emergency food bags, supply boxes, etc., help unload and process NTFB shipments, and check in students for special events. Please consider signing up for these shifts. They're super important and give you the opportunity to gain new skills. Over here, you can see a tabling event where some of our volunteers got to hang out with T-Mock for a little bit. And although we no longer offer gardening opportunities, you can send a message to the Office of Sustainability or the Office of Student Volunteerism to ask what gardening opportunities they have that may benefit the Comic Cupboard. This is our Stellar Volunteer Initiative. So we talked a little bit about it earlier with the ID and lanyard system, but let's go over it a little bit more. As a stargazer, the volunteer has contributed at least 5 hours of service to receive a Comic Cupboard, #HungerFreeUTD lanyard, and ID. They'll send a message in the in-pantry volunteer teams channel. And if the volunteer has contributed at least 15 hours of service, they receive a Comic Cupboard badge reel. The Voyager has contributed up to 20 hours of service. They receive a Comic Cupboard t-shirt and access to more volunteering shifts. And as an Explorer, the volunteer has contributed up to 50 or 100 hours of service, and they will receive a certificate of outstanding service. If you think you've reached a milestone, send a message to the Comic Cupboard staff. And then let's talk about our leadership program. You can join us by completing the volunteer leadership application. Requirements to join are contributing at least 30 hours of service to the Comic Cupboard in total, attending a volunteer leader training session once during your academic career, and then complete a returning volunteer training every fall semester. Your responsibilities are messaging staff whenever issues arrive, submitting weekly Qualtrics reports, and helping out new volunteers. The benefits are additional access to exclusive shifts for volunteer leaders only, and it's a great resume builder. All right, we're almost done. Your next steps are to read through our policy document in the description, then complete the volunteer program agreement. And then you'll be able to sign up for the in-person volunteer training on GivePulse. You will be able to sign up using the code that you receive at the end of the volunteer program agreement. Do not create a new account on GivePulse. You'll just log in with the UTD single sign-on. Let's go over a couple frequently asked questions before we close this out. I missed the new volunteer training sessions. How do I sign up for small group training? Well, if you haven't already, join us on Microsoft Teams at Comic Cupboard. Send a message in the Teams chat, and if you manage to get a group of 5 to demonstrate interest in volunteering, staff can arrange a small group training to get y'all on board. How often do I need to attend a volunteer training to volunteer? In-person volunteer training, Part 2, is only for volunteers who have never volunteered with the cupboard before. If you are returning for another academic year, you only need to re-watch the online volunteer training, Part 1, and complete the program agreement prior to your first shift in an academic year. When do shifts open up? Registration opens up a month before, and cancellation closes 24 hours before the start time. They are on a first-come, first-served basis, so the maximum number of volunteers per shift is constant. We do open up other volunteer opportunities besides regular in-pantry shifts, so people look out for those, and check GivePulse every once in a while. We will also post these shift openings in the Teams chat, so keep an eye out for any open shifts if you're looking for them. And congratulations! You've completed Part 1. Now go check the description for the program agreement and move on to the next part.